So here we are coming out of the lockdown and this pandemic. And what we've continued to see over the last 18 months or so is this succession of bands. Deep Purple, AC/DC, Michael Schenker, Styx, Kansas, I Maiden, Yes, and you in Hawkwind, providing and releasing albums that are being lauded across the medias, flying up the charts, and are some of the best works that bands have done, period. So what is it about this pandemic that has stimulated this creative process?
Probably because there's no other distractions. That's why. I mean, you can only concentrate on what you have on hand, and there's no going off doing any gigs. And obviously, you can actually tinker around with mixes endlessly to make sure things are right. So I would say that's probably it.
When you look at the fact that this is all being done remotely as well, as indeed with everybody else, how easy did you find the process, or difficult did you find the process of bringing it all together?
Well, I didn't find it difficult at all, actually. I found it, I'm used to it. That's what I do all the time, really. So, it just, the only difficulty was sending stuff down the line, to other members. A connection to Wi-Fi and such, it goes on and off. And it does take us a whole day sometimes to download things. But we were just sending stuff to each other, and I download it onto our computer here and then spend ages tinkering around and, mix it all, and there we are.
Interesting subject for the album, Somnia or Sleep, a voyage into the realm of sleep. Roman mythology, the god of sleep, Somnus. We've got strange encounters, sleepless paranoia, dreams, meditation, some Eastern influences there, a bit of blues as well. Where did the idea stem from?
Well, I don't know. I think it was Magnus, actually. I mean, Magnus had written this number, which, Magnus doesn't sleep very well, you see. When we're on a tour bus, he actually has nightmares, and you can hear him around talking, and he wrote this track, and we thought, well, perhaps it's a good idea. Perhaps we should do... some music referring to sleep, and because there's so many different permutations, as you know, you could write a whole album about nightmares, really, couldn't you? And
it's very interesting because at the time, of course, in the pandemic as well, it was quite an on-trend topic as well. The people finding it increasingly very difficult to actually get to sleep.
Probably so. That is that possibility. I must admit, I didn't find it that difficult to go to sleep. The awful thing is, when I watch Match of the Day, actually on Saturday, oh great, I watch Match of the Day, I always end up falling asleep for some reason.
So being based where you are, who's your team, by the way? Being down there, it must be, was it Plymouth,
no,
Exeter?
I haven't really got any team. I just like watching, the odd match here and there.
So this was, as we know, recorded in your homes, basically just the three of you, but the sound that you've actually produced here on this album is really rather epic.
Well, I suppose, modern technology has given us this edge of, having huge amounts of equipment at your disposal, where you can actually conjure up a whole orchestra and mix it and, do wonderful things on the computer. It's just opened so many doors now for us, really. It's the same, for our drummer. There's so many permutations you could do with drum effects and a different sort of variety of musical instruments, it's just endless. You can never stop learning, really, I find. It's the same like playing the guitar. You can never stop learning different things on the guitar.
It's an interesting perspective, because there tend to be two schools at times of thought here. Some who say, oh, it's taken the soul out of music. The fact that you can do this at home and you can mix on it's not like it was in the old days. You're one of the ones that actually embraces all this new technology and the opportunity that it brings you.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have done for years on end. I mean, when we got, I mean, I think years and years ago when we had VS33 synthesizers, suitcase synthesizer, when Dick Mig had his audio generators, and from there on you progress onwards to bass lines and drum machines and so on, and you can find you can play with all these things. I mean, you haven't got, a drummer on hand constantly who lives in your house or a bass player come to that. I mean, the good thing is I can play bass and I can play a little bit of keyboards. I can operate, synthesizer okay. I mean, it's all quite handy. That's how you can, make your own albums and do your own solo stuff. So
I did like some of the comments from the reviews, one saying it was overbearingly oppressive, but one of the most intriguing and captivating albums in years.
Well, that's jolly nice. That's what this is what we strive to do in life, as being a musician and an artist.
Leave an impression.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wish, I mean, you do loads of different albums, and obviously some of the tracks you're never really satisfied with, and I mean, that's the way. It's like painting pictures. You do a painting and you think, oh Christ, I wish I'd put a little bit of blue here, a little bit of red there. So with music, you wish you'd done something there and something here. You can go on forever, and that's the way it is, isn't it, with music?
Seems that we have reached a place now, not only with Hawkwind, but a good few of the others in the rock fraternity, where instead of the usual brush off from the media when you release an album, there's more of an attempt now to, especially from the journalists, to understand the music and why it's been appealing to so many people for decades. And as such, your position now, like some of them, like Iron Maiden, and yes, with recent amazing reviews, you're almost revered these days.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I don't always read these things, probably. That's what
I think you should.
Yeah, just carry on doing what you normally do. That's the way it is. Well, it's a nice thing. I mean, apart from getting old, I think that's another reason we're all getting old, which probably makes a lot of difference. And I mean, if you're still capable of playing well, I mean, obviously, there's no reason why you shouldn't go on. I think if you started really getting bad at playing, your fingers seizing up or your voice croaking away or whatever you do, then the time has come to stop, I think. But maybe,
But there's one quote that I think, that should please you and bring a smile to not only you, but the fan. It was simply said that you continue to thrive, innovate, and create magnificent records.
Oh. Magnificent, that's what we like to hear. Magnificent, your magnificence. Well, that's nice, yeah. Well, let's hope the next one will be like that then. I mean, that's because that's all you do. You go on to the next one. I mean, we are actually, believe it or not, we did actually do our own festival, which we recorded live.
Yes, yeah.
That'll come out next year. So, and also we are now in the middle of starting to record a new album. So.
Well, the fan base is still vibrant and is lapping it up. I mean, you made number 6 on the rock album charts. I've seen today or yesterday, number 57 in the top 100. What is it that continually stimulates this creativity in you? I mean, 9 albums since 2010, releases in 2016, 17, 18, 19, and 2021. All of them charting from 29 to 57. That is some run of form.
Well, I don't know, really. I suppose, as long as you've got ideas and you can put all these ideas down, there's no reason not to stop. I mean, we've already got 2 albums. As I was saying, we've already got the live one, which we haven't actually mixed properly yet. But we've also got another one that we did over the past few years, actually, that we got stuck away, which is a really interesting one as well. So, if you can keep doing these things and they sound good, then and the fans like them, then there's no reason to stop.
Next year, 50 years since the release of the record, Silver Machine, which obviously went on to make number 3 in the UK charts. It's been released a few times. Any plans for a 50th anniversary re-release, an all-star cast version of the record company being on to you saying, listen, guys, there's a possibility here to do something?
Well, don't forget the record company, which I don't know who's got it now, Warner Brothers, I think. I mean, first off, it was United Artists, then EMI, then it was Sony, I think, and now Warner Brothers, Silver Machine. Is it Warner Brothers now?
Or Sony BMG.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one. Maybe Sony BMG or whatever. You've got to remember when we actually recorded that, our royalties were so small, which they are still to this day. I mean, we're talking about a record that sold millions and millions of copies.
Yeah.
And basically, each member of the band that were on that record, all we get is 1% each. So 6 people get 1% each. That's all. The rest of the money has gone to the record company, and try as we can to do something about it. You met with a silencer, so I don't think they don't have much to do with us at all, really.
Shame.
Just
really.
earn money
Shame.
out of us. That's all. Yeah, I know it's a shame.
What do you remember about that appearance on Top of the Pops? You had the approach. They wanted you to do what they all did back then, which was mime it.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't do it. That's why they came and filmed us at Dunstable Civic Hall, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Where they actually, recorded it. I mean, there's probably loads of different versions out. I mean, I've heard some really good versions. Different bands have sent me copies. Said, "Oh, look, we just recorded Silver Machine. Is it all right?" I said, "Yeah, of course it's all right." And some of them do really unusual versions. Not like the rock ones. Totally, there's dancey ones. There's sort of real black metal ones. It's quite interesting, actually. Now, if I was in charge of Warner or Sony, BMG, whoever's got this, I'd actually get an album together of all the different versions and put it out. That'd be something different.
What a great idea, actually. Just looking back at those times, I was drawn to a piece in the Spectator magazine. I mean, I can imagine back in the 1970s, if the thought of you ever appearing in a magazine like that would have been enough to get Lemmy off on one. But this one good quote in there, which said that you are misremembered now, and you were misrepresented then. Do you think there's any truth in that people tend to create something in history about the band that wasn't actually true?
Probably so. I mean, that's the way the music business is, isn't it, really? I mean, it's the same as any, they like to make and destroy, don't they, really, music business? I mean, you think, well, it's, going about artistic integrity. I mean, quite often, the band actually plays to the fans. It goes out on the road playing to all the people that come to see. I mean, all the musicians are doing, they're trying to play good music and give escapism to the fans. That's what we're all trying to do, aren't we?
Yeah. When you look at all the things that people have written and said about you over the years, what has brought a smile to your face? I like the quote from Michael Moorcock, the sci-fi author, who said on hearing you, they're like barbarians with electronics.
Yeah, well, that was true then. I mean, we didn't know how to well, we just made lots of noises. We didn't know the ethnics of how to operate a VCS3 synthesizer properly. But I mean, then of course we could only play three chords. You know what I mean? But listen, we're in the day and age where you could play just one chord for at least half an hour and make it interesting. So there.
I always remember a great interview with Rick Parfitt when they did an album called In Search of the Fourth Chord. And there was one of those very starchy lady journalists from one of the quality papers that said, what do you say to those people that say about you that you only ever play three chords? And his response was, how many chords are there?
Yes, well, this is it. And I mean, and also you've got to remember, I mean, I can't even read music, so I've never learned how to read music, so which is probably quite a good thing in a way, because it stops you being influenced, by crotchets and quavers.
How do you view the opinions of those now when you look again back at the history of the band over the last 50 years and you look at quotes, New Order's Stephen Morris said back in the early 80s, I think he said that when punk started in the mid-70s, it was because in every town around the country there was somebody that liked Hawkwind.
Well, that's a good thing. I'd say, hooray!
Do you think? I mean, I know Johnny Lydon used to be a great regular at your gigs in the 70s and was a massive fan. Do you think that you had influence over the punk movement? And what did you think of the punk movement?
Well, I mean, yet again, I mean, it's another different way of playing music, wasn't it? Really? Well, it wasn't that different, I would say. I mean, basically everybody's playing the same old three chords in different variations, But it's people have these different ideas. Everything has to be labelled in a way, didn't it? Like punk was labelled. I mean, we were playing similar music, in the early 70s, and you go back to the 60s, late 60s. And listen to a lot of psychedelic bands, but very similar to what punk was. With good, strong rhythms going on.
You're a big lover of the blues, though, as well, aren't you? Have you ever been tempted to do a Dave Brock blues album?
No, not really. I mean, I can play it. I mean, you have to feel the blues, you have to have all the problems in life. Now, when you read up on all these old blues musicians, loads of people have got no idea what it's like sometimes to, I mean, it's funny, to draw parallels in sort of like in America where there was, blacks weren't allowed into restaurants because, whites one entrance, blacks the other. Now, funnily enough, when I was travelling around down in the West Country in the early 60s, no beatniks were allowed in lots of cafes. It said no beards and no long hair and no sandals. So if you went into one of these cafes, you were thrown out, And it does give you an insight into, you can write a few songs about these things,
I know that whenever you do a piece talking about the band and its history, Lemmy always comes into the equation for obvious reasons. Your favourite memory of Lemmy? Strawberries and cream in Bristol and champagne in an afternoon. What was all that about?
Well, we went to see Motorhead actually. Well, we actually, because I mean, Lemmy and me used to contact each other, through emails and so on, and it just so happens he was playing in Bristol, and we went to see him, and he sent out for strawberries and champagne for us so that we could sit in. And he said, well, I'm just going to pop out now and just do a quick sound check. We thought, oh, crikey, it's bound to be about half an hour or longer. And we heard all the playing away there, and one number, he was back in again. That was it.
A couple of minutes.
And we carried on our conversation there, drinking our champagne and carrying on. So there you
Fabulous
go,
memories.
A man of great character and a really good musician too, I might add.
A wonderful Dave Brock.